there I am. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the stream here. I certainly hope you guys are doing pretty good today, because I'm doing pretty good myself. Let's get just a few things set up here. Just give me one moment. I'll get back into the game here. If you guys are new here, I do appreciate that, and thank you as well. We're going to be playing some Planet Coaster today. If you have been joining us the past couple of streams, on Tuesdays at least, you've actually seen us be playing, or seen us be building this park in Planet Coaster. It is called Thunder Lake. It's one I started about a year ago, December 2019, give or take, I believe. I think that's when we did it. So yeah, no big deal. So we've been going for about 8 months now, 9 months, give or take. But this takes some cues from a couple different parks, mainly the ones that I have. Let's see, we'll get that back to there. There we go. Mainly just from parks that either I've worked at from Cedar Fair, or when I started building this park, I actually did get some design cues from Universal Studios. That's the park I had just visited, along with Walt Disney World, when I came back from that vacation. So I've been kind of getting some ideas from both of them. But if you guys are here kind of curious what the title is, if you guys saw last week's stream, we actually built these built facades for our restaurant here. I know I don't have the game up yet, but I have it on my other screens. That's why I was kind of curious. We built these facades, and I'm like, you know what? We should put something in those facades. And I've been kind of going back and forth on what to do with them, and I think I have an idea. So let's go ahead and pop into the game here. So I already have it pulled up and everything. Well, for 1 week, I actually have things pretty much set up. It is a miracle, I know. But if you see here, we actually have one full building here, and that is something I want to kind of work with. Kind of the goal today is I want to get these 2 buildings completed and actually get pretty much this backstage area not done, but at least outlined, so that we can actually start building on this stuff maybe next time. That's kind of the idea. And so the goal is I want to create a barrier, some basic fencing along this line here. Probably put some bushes and things like that along this ridge here. And up here I'm going to have to put a little bit better fencing, maybe another facade just to go across here and back a little bit, and maybe just kind of connect this area up here. I'm not 100% sure yet. But what I wanted to do before I got into that is I do want to actually go inside of these facades and actually work on them from here. Now, we had mentioned last time, but we wanted to put either a merchandise store in here or something like that. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and put a merchandise store in here. And then back here, I think we'll actually put the employee cafeteria. And so if I go in here, let's see here. I was looking at some Theme Makers Toolkits items, and one actually I think is going to help us quite a bit. Because I could put some tiling down, or just some, like arch shapes, something like that, to create the floor. But I kind of when I was looking through the Theme Makers Toolkits this week, I actually found this. And there it is. It's this tile floor, which kind of looks pretty neat. But I think this is generic enough that it could just be like painted linoleum or something like that. So I think that would actually work really well in this park, especially if we were doing this merchandise stand that we just kind of threw in here. I kind of like the idea of maybe this was something else at one point and they converted it to something else. But I think this is what we're going to start with. We're actually going to start building a merchandise store here. And I didn't realize that this actually was a gridded piece. But we can work with it. That's no big deal. I figured that would be probably something I thought would be freehand, but I guess not. That's okay. We can do this. I don't want it to poke out this side here, so let's bring it back to there. Looking on this side, it is poking out over there. So we're going to have to compromise on one side or the other. I think what I'll do is... well, that's not what I wanted to do. That's exactly what I didn't want to do. What I'm going to do is I want to cut one of these squares off on the end here. And then I'm going to line it with this side here, and we'll try to create as much of a like a floor as we can with this. We'll probably have to go in here and probably have to change, or we'll probably put a building that just angles on this side and angles on this side. When I originally thought of this building, I didn't think I was going to make this a merchandise store, but as it kind of came together, I really started to like the idea. So let's go ahead, let's create the two on the side here, so we can at least kind of see what we do and do not need to cover. That'll probably help a little bit with us. Let's go ahead and move this. We'll move it to this side here. Although one of the nice things about this being a gridded piece, we can't tilt it in the X or Z directions, so it'll always be flat against the ground. So that is kind of a nice feature of it. Oh, it's just poking out there, and I don't want that. How far does it go up? I can go to about there without it poking out, and I think I can fix that with one of these pieces here. So let's go ahead and we'll edit this one here. Duplicate it, and I think I can make put the wall here, and then, you know, I don't think that'll be too awful bad. Something like this. Hang on here, can we get away with actually putting that right there? We cannot. Alright, well, that's okay. I'm going to try to pronounce this name. It just popped up on the screen there. It's Der Loki Führer 21. Thank you for subscribing, sir, and good afternoon to you too, sir. I do appreciate the follow there. I think it's number 32 for us. That's pretty good. There we go. I almost hit my microphone staying there. All right, let's split this from the building here. You know, thanks for joining us for the Planet Coaster stream. It's been kind of it's been rather fun so far. I mean, we've only been here for about 10 minutes, so kind of early on in the stream, but that is just fine with me. Already had some ideas to really get us going on this stream, so I was, you know, came around to get running. I mean, as much running as I do. I'm not a big running fan, but it's okay. Let's see here. It's a curious spot there. All right, let's split this one from the building. We're gonna have to do something a little more creative with this corner, I got a feeling. Because I don't want it to stick out this side here. The problem is that if I have it sticking out that side, I mean, we're already, ooh, it does cover up a lot more than I thought it would. All right, hold on. Let's just move this to where it doesn't poke out this side or this side. Well, to cover up that space just a little bit there. Hit the escape button a little too much there. And then we can come in here with this building here, and duplicate 4 tiles like so. All right, so there is going to be our merchandise space, and I think that'll work out pretty well. Let's see here. Do I see? I need to cover up 2 little spots. So I'll be honest with you, that's actually not too horrible from what I thought originally. We'll go over to art shapes and we can get just some white tile. I have a feeling I'll probably cover up this anyways with either merchandise or some sort of shelving or something like that, just so that you wouldn't even see it anyways. So it's not like it's a huge deal that we're putting art shapes in here. We can even kind of make it a little less inconspicuous by really just put it just underneath the tile layer there. So let's kind of match this up just a little bit. Perfect. Like that. You don't even tell it's, well, I would say you can't even tell it's there, but it's not. So that would be an issue. All right, let's rotate this back into position here and lower it down. I do want to get it just underneath the tile here, just so that most of the tile is showing. There we go. You wouldn't even, oh, well, if it was lined up correctly, you wouldn't even tell, but let's go ahead and just raise it up just a tiny bit there. Yeah, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find that. This side might be a little more noticeable just because of the size of it. But hey, still okay within my book. If we do something like that, we do need to kind of wedge it back here in this corner here. Let's let's rotate this around like so. Not poking out that side, not poking out that side, so it looks like that's all good. We'll slide another one back there, and there we go. Never would even know that that's not part of the floor there. So there is our merchandise floors. I like it so far. It'd probably be easy to clean too, because you know, if you guys have watched this stream at all, you know how I used to work in merchandise, so I used to have to clean these stores, and I did run one for a year, and I was an associate for a little bit too, so done a little bit of everything on that front. I think I did a little more in food service though, because I don't know, in food service I think it was a little bit higher. I was a higher up manager, so it makes a little more sense. But let's see here. Where do we want to go next? Well, I think we need to open these doors first. I think that might be a good idea. And I think I have an idea of how I want to have people walk in here. Yeah, I want them to swing in, because if I have them swing out, they're going to block that path. I really don't want to do that, so we'll do that. And then we'll have this one. This also fixes that problem that the doors don't quite align here. You can kind of see that there's a little white space there. You kind of can see that pretty easily. And so I'll just open her up like this. So now you'd have no idea that those were too small. And they're not that much smaller, but it does help a little bit. Do want to edit the door just a little bit so they're not clipping on the tops there. Let's move them. Actually, you know what? Let's move them all back, just a little bit, actually into the store, just a tiny bit. Kind of like that. So it looks like they're kind of on the inside of the arches there. And actually, to be honest with you, we can probably just go ahead and rotate this one all the way back to there, so it opens it up just a little bit more. And this one to this side. There we go. I know it's going to clip a little bit there, but I'm okay with that. And let's also move these in as far as they will go. Kind of cut this in half between both doors here. Kind of like that. And there we go. I think that's going to be our opening for our merchandise store. And then we can go in here, and we're going to duplicate this building here. And then it's on the grid still. Alright, let's do this. I want to split this from the building, edit this back into, I'm going to pretty much do the doorway here. Let's see here. Slide that over to about there. Duplicate this over to, oh, well, this one actually made a different building, but that's okay. Something like that. And that'll be the entrance to our merchandise store there. I think I quite like that. I think the next thing we want to put in, though, is our counter, so we can actually sell some stuff here. Just thought about, though, we also need probably some sort of storage area for our merchandise. So it'll probably be something like, if we cut it like right here. So essentially from here forward is going to be the actual store, and then this section here will actually be our office for our employees, and then we kind of serve a couple of purposes. It'll have some it'll pretty much be all merchandise storage back in here. I have a little office here for our employees to get if they need to take breaks, something like that. They can lock up their registers back here and things like that. There'll also be a small office for the manager back here, and then there'll also be an access back to the employee cafeteria, which will be back here. I'm planning to put a hallway kind of right here, essentially. So you'll see kind of that. You might see that a little bit, but then the rest of this will be probably in cafeteria. So that's kind of the idea for right now. It seems like a little much, but I do want to at least get this in here. I don't know if I'll do a fully detailed employee cafeteria. I might do a little bit. Enough to where if you look from the outside, you would see, employees in there and stuff like that. So it might be kind of neat. So let's go ahead and let's do the counter first. I think I want to put the counter on this side, just so if like the doors here for the office, they can just literally walk straight out and be in the counter area. So we need to do some, let's see, what would, this is kind of a firehouse. I'm trying to think of um, names for a merchandise store housed in a firehouse. And I don't know what I would have come up with. I'm just kind of playing around with a couple pieces here to make a countertop real quick. And I'm just trying to think what it could be. And it could be something like you know, the tagline would be like the hottest merch in the park, or something like that. Something kind of cheesy. I mean, fair, but it's also an amusement park, so it's kind of how things go sometimes. Let's see here. What else can we use? But yeah, so I'm just trying to think of something like that. I also thought about doing I don't know what the name of that would probably be more like a tagline than anything else, but you know, I'm just trying to think of some ideas. Let's see here. What about something like this? Well, that's just a piece of like stone. I mean, that'll work. I mean, I'm okay with that. Let's see here. If we rotate it, let's actually put the counter all the way at the wall here, and let's angle it. Let's match this wall back here, just so that it kind of makes a little more sense. I don't know, maybe that's just me. And we'll raise it up just a little bit here. How tall is this counter space? So it comes up to about their knee. So I need to maybe a little more than that. Because I mean, when I was working merchandise, things like that, it came up to about my hips, and I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'7", so I'm pretty tall, and it came up to about my hips, about where it was. So yeah, I can imagine that it's probably around there for most people, or you know. It's like, but it's about that height, you know. I kind of get the idea. Let's see here. Let's drop this guy down just a little bit. And let's see. That might be a bit tall. Maybe not. I don't know. That might work. I do want to change the color of these, though. Well, first of all, I want to make this into a scenery pack. I'll probably try to do the entire interior in one pack. It might just be a little easier on me, at least, so when I edit things out, they'll be doing stuff like that. All right, let's actually pop into this building. I want to grab this red right here. I want to move it over to these bricks. It's not bad. I do want to put a countertop. Ooh, if I want to put a counter on top of this, like, not a huge countertop, but just a different color. It kind of overhangs just a little bit here. I don't want to do that. That's kind of a bigger issue. How do I want to build a countertop? I don't need arch anymore. Let's see here. I'm trying to think how I want to do this. Something like this could work, and I'll show you what I mean here in just a moment. If I rotate it, here, let me just edit this like this. And then, you know what? This panel piece might work a little bit better because it's a rectangle instead of a square. Rotate this. So game's trying to autosave right now, so it's going to be a little bit on the laggy side. That's okay. Do something like this, though. And then raise it up. Something like that, I think, would be perfect. And then I want to go back over here. And something like this. And slide this over to here. There we go. I think that'll work as a countertop. It's not, you know what? Let's actually rotate the whole countertop around. And why I want to do that, it's a little, I mean, it doesn't give the, it gives you a little more of the smoother side on this side. And I think that would make more sense for kind of the guest perspective of what we're doing. So that makes, I think it looks pretty good. Come in here with some, I don't remember what they call them in here. Oh, that's even better. So this is actually one, if you notice, if you've, watched this series a while, you'll actually see that I've used quite a few different registers in the park. And you said that doesn't really make any sense. Funny enough, when I used to work at Kings Island, we actually had 3 different register systems that we had to learn all 3 because we could be sent to these locations, and if we needed to, operate the registers, we had to know how to do it. So yeah, it seems a little odd that a place would have, or a park would have 3 different styles of registers, but it is a, it's not uncommon. Now for a more, a little more modern park like Disney or something like that, they probably have the same style of registers. But they weren't too awfully different. I mean, I remember, I had, every once in a while I had to be like, all right, how do I do this? But, most of the time it was pretty easy on how to figure stuff like this out. So I think that'll be our till area. I think that looks pretty good there. Now, I've been kind of debating on whether I want to change, like, the scaffolding here. Like, I might actually, how do I delete this? Where does that go up to? It doesn't help me at all. I thought about actually leaving it there and kind of giving it the look, kind of giving it that scaffolding look, and probably do a little bit of a flat roof. Or you know what? I was thinking here I can actually make this a 2-story building. The second floor would be storage, and the first floor would be the actual store itself. But I kind of like how this, I kind of like having the big ceiling. I'll probably have a drop ceiling, probably right along here, like right below the first windows. I think that'd be pretty good. Let's see here. How do I want to approach this? You know what? Let's lay out our store next. So let's get any racks out that we can have. This looks pretty good, though it is buried into the ground here. I need some shirt racks here. Trust me, I did this quite a bit in when I was working in merchandise. I would get a message in the morning that says, "Hey, we need to change this out," and I had to go through. It didn't happen too often, I should say, but you have to go through and try to figure out what racks you have, what racks you didn't, and then you had to go find what you didn't have. So let's throw all the merchandise stuff we have in here. Put some shelves in here. Something like this. That might be a bit big. Alright. Let's also look for maybe display. Yeah, I think this will work. Oh, hold on. I don't know why they made this 2 separate things. It's a bit annoying, but I'm okay with it. But it's just, I don't know. It seems like that could be one big piece, even with that kind of detail. Maybe that's just me thinking that, but slide that over there. Slide that back to there. There we go. The problem is there's not a lot here, and I thought there was more out there. Let me just scroll through theme makers really quick. I don't want to get merchandise items yet. Just want to get the shelving, stuff like that. There's one. That's a perfect one. Let's see. What other one we can do? Not not seeing any more that would be useful, which is not ideal, but does happen, unfortunately. Those are the shelves that are a little too big, I think. I don't know. Let's look at them compared to the Archer here. And they're a little tall, but technically that would work. But it seems like more like a grocery store kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But unfortunately, I really don't see anything else that could really, we could put in here and kind of look correct. There was something else I wanted to add in here. I don't remember what it was. And that's going to bug me, and because I don't remember what it was. I don't know. All right, well, let me just grab a t-shirt really quick too, so that because I have some ideas I want to do, but I need some of those. So we have all this. I'm thinking most of this store is going to be apparel of some sort. So I get a feeling probably this whole wall here is going to be t-shirts of some sort. So let me go ahead and go in here and I want to go to TV stands, which seems kind of odd. Why would I want a TV stand in here? I mean, fair enough. Well, it seems kind of odd, but actually, if I go in here, the stands themselves, I won't be able to find them now, but what are they at? I bet you they're called brackets, aren't they? Nope, maybe not. I don't know. Cameras, audio, screens. Here we go. They're called mounting poles. Alright, well, that's not ideal. But alright. So if you see here, I think these would make great t-shirt racks. Let me show you what I mean here in a second. Let me line it to here. Rotate this up 90 degrees. And rotate this around. That pole's a little large though, isn't it? Huh. I mean, it'd be something like that. Essentially, what I'm looking at. That's not even on the hanger, right? There we go. But I think this might be a little big. I think it's even about the same distance. It doesn't bother me too awful bad. Because essentially, what we do is do something like this. And so you have one on top, one on the bottom there, and then this whole wall probably have 8 or 10 different shirts on it. Essentially, that's what I was kind of planning on, kind of the idea at least. These were actually kind of common. We'd have walls very similar to this, just full of t-shirts, and then we'd have some more on top, or even dummies with the shirts on them on top of there. The other thing I remembered I wanted to put in here is some tables. You'd be surprised how many tables we actually use in merchandising. And it could be something simple like this. This seems a little high though. I kind of want to make this this folding table actually might look pretty good. Now, essentially what I want to do is I actually want to make a display. I actually want to make probably 2 displays. So we'll do one, well, I want to make a double display, I should say. And I want to make these look like they're actually permanent tables, not just folding tables. So do something like that. And then I'll rotate this just around just a little bit. So I want to have these pretty much right in front of the doors as guests come in. And so what I would do here is, when you're building a display, you kind of want to show off what the store has, like in a brief synopsis, what you want to do in the store. I do want to make quite a few t-shirts here. That'll be kind of our main focus for this store. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of those mounting poles. I think that one's a little tall. But we can do something like this. I'm going to rotate it this way. You don't want to, I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I noticed that they weren't always at a straight on angle. They were always straight, like forward. They were always angled just a little bit, you know, to either side, I guess you could say. And so let's get some t-shirts, maybe some hoodies. Hoodies might be a pretty good things here. Shirt. Yep, we'll get a King Coaster one. I was going to say Planet Coaster one. Let's get a King Coaster shirt. And usually these also have mannequins, which, by the way, I'm surprised we don't have mannequins like in a Theme Maker's Toolkit item. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, I'm just kind of surprised that we don't have a Theme Maker's Toolkit like dummy. It's not like dummy, but like a mannequin that we could put up and then put different colors on shirts and things like that. I think we have an interesting idea. But yeah, something like this, the shirts are actually going to be a little too tall. But we can fix that here momentarily. Because we can figure out how tall we need, because we have the shirts now. Well, I have the shirt on there is probably as best as I'm going to get it. Oop. Oh, crap. Did I put this? Alright. Didn't put it into the same building here. So I'm going to add it and edit. I think I actually added it to a separate building, which is okay. I mean, as long as they're in a building, I'm okay with it, like together, but that's okay. So we need to move this up to about there. All right, well, we can do this with some art shapes. We can, let's shop some facilities, not what I wanted. Now this technically won't be a functioning store, but it'll still, I think it'll look pretty nice still. That's a little too big for what we need. Let's go to a hard edge, or a flat piece, I'm sorry. Let's go to a flat piece, and let's go down to the rectangle. And while this will work, I'm a little concerned with it's poking through the front here. Let me... this. And what we can do though is kind of make it a little bit of a stack display. So we can do kind of like this and this. Go. Kind of like that. And then we can kind of put some stuff on the back side here. So if as people are walking around, they walk the back side of the display and they actually see some more items they may want to purchase. So do something like this. Let's also move these down. We might be able to put both shirts on the same block here, and there would be kind of stuff stacked like this, so that's not uncommon to see. You know what I'm also kind of surprised about that I haven't seen in Theme Maker's Toolkit, and maybe I just overlooked it, is like baseball hats, or just hats like that. They're actually really popular, or at least when I was working there, they were actually really popular to buy hats like that. Both kind of out of necessity, because people forget their hats at home and you're out in the sun all day, so it's not ideal. But the other thing is that let's see here, where do I want to do the next one? Something like this. But also they're just fun to have. I know my dad's a big fan of hats, and so he gets quite a few, or he has quite a few different ones that he's either gotten from people or collected from somewhere, things like that. So what I also need to do, I think I need to, number one, change the color of the shirts. Gulp and make like a green, and then we'll do a light blue for King Coaster here. There we go. And you know what? Let me move this around to the side here. Something like that, and then we'll move it kind of back that way. It's gonna give you kind of show you how everything is. I don't know if I'll do something else over here. I think I do want to still bring this over. Move this, rotate it up, and oop, that's not exactly what I want to do. There, and then rotate this and bring it back to this way. It's going to stick to the table just a little bit, but that's okay. You know what? Let's do this. Essentially, I'm going to create a back of this, so kind of like that, and like this. Oh, dang it! All right, well, that didn't work. It's not working out today. I don't know why it's having some issues. All right, add, edit, and move this over to there, and then move this down to there and there. You know what I could do? Delete these. Unfortunately, I had this idea for the merchandise store. I just didn't know how I was going to do it quite yet. And so you get kind of these moments like, oh, I could do this a little bit better. And then, you know, you have an idea, you'll do it, and it's like, oh, I could do this and make it look better or what have you. And I think that looks a little bit better. It's going to give us a little more room up front here, which we can then put in things like snow globes. I know we have a few of those. So let's go to snow globes. We have one. Well, that's better than none. Funny enough, these things were actually pretty popular when I used to work at Kings Island. They have ones for different rides. The merchandise stores I worked, well, the one I worked at when I was a manager, didn't have quite as many because it was a kid's store. But the one I worked at as an associate was essentially a ride exit. So if you know the old Disney philosophy, you always exit people through the gift shop. Essentially, that's what it was. But you also could pick up your photos from the ride there. So it was still a neat little place. I think we actually do the logo in white, and then what's that now? That is the side pouches. I think I'll do those in white, and then I want to do the main bag in red. So the last one is red. All right, cool. And this one, I'll do. This is the logo again. We'll do this so we'll do the main one in blue. And I don't know how do I maybe do it in red, do like a red, white, and blue bag. That'd be kind of neat. Kind of like that. And the last one, I think I want to make the main part green, so we'll match our Gulpy colors. And then the logo can still be white. We'll make the other ones like a dark yellow because that's kind of the Gulpy kind of thing there. All right, cool. And then, so we got we got some backpacks here. We've got, let's see, what else could we be selling at this store that is also Theme Maker's Toolkit? You know what? There were some ride models I remember seeing, if I can find them. They were like kits. They're not like kits, but they were like models of the like roller coaster cars. Those, I thought I had a couple of those somewhere. Once again, on stream, I won't be able to find them, but I'll find them later. It's usually how that goes. I don't see them, which is a bit unfortunate because they're actually kind of a neat little thing. What's that? Oh, it's stone cladding. Well, critic everyone, thank you. Oh, thank you for the follow there, sir. I do appreciate that. Welcome to the stream as well. But yeah, I'm just, yeah, honestly, what I did is I just went on to the workshop under Theme Maker's Toolkit, and I just started Googling things. Lockers, trucks, if you just type in like Lego merchandise, sometimes or Lego merchandise. If you just type in merchandise or shirts or sweatshirts or something like that, sometimes stuff like that, it'll just come up randomly. And I'll also go through probably on like a weekly basis and just go through and see, what's new on Theme Maker's Toolkit. And that's where I find a lot of this stuff. Not everything, of course, but it's a good thing to at least see kind of what's out there, because you never know what's going to be out there. You never know what people's going to create, and they create some amazing stuff out there. There's a lot of stuff I just wouldn't use, and that's kind of the other issue. But things like this merchandise stuff, where I know pretty well how to use this stuff, because I've kind of worked in merchandise, and I've worked in Amusement parks for 7 years. Kind of wish I could go back a little bit, but unfortunately, it's not really working out right now. But kind of go there. We'll do another, like, how do I want to do this one? It looks like I only got one color here. You know what? We'll do it like a nice dark purple. A little bit lighter than that. There we go. I think that'll work. You know what? We could put some plushies up, because you would not believe in merchandising how much plushies actually, like, do. Like, there, especially when I worked in, there was a kids store I worked in. It was called Kids Corner, because it was a kids store. Made sense. But we would sell so many plush toys, both to adults and kids. Because sometimes they were like, oh, we're getting this as gifts for our kids or whatever. Or sometimes they just wanted them themselves. It was actually kind of funny. But yeah, plushies were a huge thing in stores, and they still are. We used to have this thing, we used to call them Crush Bears. And essentially they were just tie-dye bears that had the park name on the stomach. It was just, the fur was tie-dye, the stomach was white, and it had the Kings Island logo on them. And that was like one of our biggest sellers. We would sell out of those things, and people would come and ask for them. No idea why, but it was the funniest thing, and I remember having to restock them so many times. But still, it's a neat thing to... Oh, that's what I was looking for. That's exactly what I was looking for. Let's see here. You know what? We'll put them back here up on the shelf here. And there we go. I think that'll be a nice little display for the front of our store here. I do want to create a second one. So what I want to do is I want to move... You know what? Let's go ahead and do this. Because I kind of want to keep them somewhat the same. Let's actually... Come on. There we go. And so I do want to change a few things out. Like I'll maybe change out these snow globes or something else. Maybe some more plushies or whatever. Different things like that. You know what? There actually is a way I can do this, Holland. I was watching, if you guys are like, big into, if you're not really huge into Planet Coaster, but you like doing stuff like this, on Discord, there's a channel called Bro Nation. It's one I would highly recommend you guys looking at if you guys aren't already on it. They just post things. It's a huge community that. What did I just do? I was typing something and then everything went wrong. There we go. I've got a light for some reason now. There we go. But if you go on to Bro Nation, they give you, like, there's a ton of ideas. There's people there. If you want something like, hey, I don't know, this doesn't look right. What do you guys think? There's a whole channel just dedicated to that. And that's where I usually advertise my stream at, too, because, people are like me. They want to watch Planet Coaster. But that's a really good one to join if you guys need ideas or just really interested in theme parks. They talk about real theme parks, too, and it's kind of neat, too. I'm a big fan of just going to theme parks as well, but unfortunately, with everything going on, it's kind of hard to lately, but anyways, I'm going to go over here and hit light. Because there is a way, and I saw this on a recent... I'm trying to think who it was. It was a Mass Bandit video. He's actually one of the bros of Bro Nation. Hit this there. He actually was doing a merchandise store for somebody else. He was doing a guest build in a park. And he said an easy way to make a cup is you take these emergency light 3, turn it upside down, and you put it there. It will make a noise, but look at that. You got a nice souvenir cup there. You actually can change kind of the color on it a little bit, not a whole lot, but yeah, you actually can change how that looks and everything like that. So there you go. If you guys ever need a cup there you go. I know that was one of the kind of the merchandise tricks I've seen. And I haven't really used that one. I'm kind of surprised. Which, by the way, merchandising cups, usually kind of a bigger one. T-shirts are always going to be your biggest seller. So that's something you want to... If you're thinking about merchandise at all, if you're doing something like this, like I am, shirts are a big one. Plushies are probably the second. Third, you're probably looking at cups or like very specific theming rides, like the... the backpacks, the hoodies, and things like that. And then kind of after that, it's kind of a mix of things. If I had to guess, probably things like pins, postcards, stuff like this is also a big thing because they're really inexpensive, and so they're easy to make. Funny enough, if you actually go onto the Theme Maker's Toolkit, these postcards are actually available. What these were actually contest entries into the Summer Bro-Down last year. So you had to actually create a postcard and then submit it to these, the judges. So you can see here, we got just some really nice postcards, everything like that. Funny enough, if you look, I gotta zoom in a little bit more. Really can't with, there we go. This is one of my favorites because it's my own. Got a couple, if I can zoom in a little bit more. I know I don't have Tegic Cam on, which I probably should, but hold on here. That might, there we go. That's a little bit better. You actually can see here kind of the full postcard. Kind of a neat little off-road, scenery and stuff like that. That was something I've submitted. I didn't move on. That was the first round. I didn't move on to the second round, unfortunately, but still pretty neat. If you go onto the workshop, the easiest way I do it, you go to workshop, and then if you look at the listings of everything, towards the bottom actually there's one just called Theme Maker's Toolkit. If you click on that, that'll limit everything in the workshop just to Theme Maker's Toolkit, and then you can just use the normal search and then search for wherever you want to. That's the easiest way I've found to do that if you're looking for something very specific. But if you're just kind of out there generalizing looking at it, you don't have to search for anything. Just click on Theme Maker's Toolkit, and that's probably the best way to do that. For postcards, though, I think I'm going to put the postcard racks up here near the maybe not. So the thing about putting them up here near the registers, because they're pretty common for people to ask for. But I think I'm going to put them actually right here in the kind of the middle of the floor here. Something like this. What are these? These are just collectibles. They would probably actually be on the counter, to be honest with you. Let's take this last register out here, and I'll show you what oh, that's not what I wanted. I'm going to do that. Because a lot of times you'd have these, a lot of these huge displays like right on the counter. Why? I don't know. They're easy to refill because you can throw all your merchandise on the counter. I can't do that because unfortunately it's about the same size, or the base is bigger than the base I have, unfortunately. But you're welcome, Critic, if you're looking for your stuff there. I'll probably just put it back here next to the rest of the spinning racks here of Doom. Because for some reason, if you ever worked in any merchandise or retailing, if you ever have one of these, you'll know these things fly off all the time because kids spin them and then they get all jumbled up. Tearing one of these apart and putting them all back together can be a huge pain. And the reason I knew that is I did it quite a bit because it's something we have to do to make sure that if we do need some stuff, we kind of know where it's at, things like that. So, not ideal, but still something we had to do. Let's see here. Let's rotate. Let's make this kind of a poster wall. Because posters, oddly enough, are actually something that's kind of popular. One of my, I worked in two different merchandise locations as an associate, permanently, kind of like on a permanent basis. Now I kind of get moved around every once in a while. But one of the stores I worked in was an 80s themed store called Totally 80s. And it's no longer there. They've changed it now to something else, and I don't remember what it's called now. But it was a big thing to sell posters there. They would sell posters from old movies and things like that, or 80s, I'd say old movies, 80s movies. They sold like 80s things, merchandise and things like that. So I should move this one down here. Yeah, posters still a big thing. Not like oddly enough, but they were still a thing. It's not like it's kind of an odd thing to see. So yeah, something like that. I think that'll work. Now, what to kind of fill in the rest of the space with? I don't think we're going to use either one of those, because I think what we're going to do is we're going to add these in here, and we're going to do something like this. Something else I've noticed that we kind of need to see in Theme Maker's Toolkit, and something you don't think about unless you work in merchandise and you see it all the time, there's hardly any like prepackaged food anywhere on Theme Maker's Toolkits. And what I mean by that is things like candies, like individual layer candies, pucker powder machines, taffy, like just normal candy that you would see like in stores, stuff like that. We would have either a whole cart so something like this. We'd have like shirts and stuff like that in here, but either side would be full of candy, stuff like that. That's not uncommon. Or a lot of stores would actually have full walls full of candy and stuff like that, and I don't see it on here, and it's kind of an odd thing to not see. Because maybe that's just something that people don't think about when they go into parks. They think of the T-shirts, they think of the hats and the cups and things like that. But candy's actually one of our, when I worked at Kings, or worked for Cedar Fair, worked for Kings Island, it was kind of a big deal. It was something that the management got onto us a lot about, because it was something that we sold quite a bit of. Both the handmade taffy and fudge. Like, I haven't seen fudge. Like, fudge is a huge thing. I remember, when I used to work in the kids store, we actually had a pretty big fudge display. And every morning, one of the managers, usually there was 2 managers there for most of the day, we would have to walk down to the, it's called, what is it called? Not Confectioner's Corner, but it was our candy store, our big candy store in the park, and because that's where they made all the fudge at. And we have to go down there probably once a day just to get fudge to restock our displays, because it was that popular. And it's just one of those things where it's something you don't think about and stuff like this, but it is something that people want, and I don't see I don't see a lot of people doing. It's still, maybe that's, once again, maybe that's just me. All right, I think this is how we're going to lay out our merchandise store. I think this is probably our kind of best layout. I want to put some more T-shirt racks back here, because right now we only have 8, and that seems a little low, and that people might think that's a little odd, but no, 8. Think about it like this: you have 8 different T-shirts. How many rides do you have? Like, how many major rides do we have in our park? If we kind of zoom out here, if you guys are new here, which it seems like a couple of you guys are, we actually have quite a few big rides here. Things like Shockwave and Splinter. Stinger would have probably its own shirt. Probably Thunder Falls would have its own shirt. So right now there's 4 shirts there that are just rides. If you include 2 different styles of park shirts, it's already 6. Plus we have all this other land we're going to put other rides on. So yeah, there is, if I had to guess, when I was working in the kids store, because that store was pretty much just plush toys and outfits, we probably had close to 25 or 30 different shirts available. And that's not sizes, that's just designs of shirts. Then we had to go for sizes, and with sizes you can go from like extra small to, I think we actually went up to 4X in some shirts. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So that's a lot of shirts you have to think about, having that much room to hold all that stuff. So I think before we actually really kind of get into this, I want to lay just something down so I can see where this back wall is going to be, because I keep putting stuff back here, and I don't want to, I don't want to cover this area up. We'll see. I think if I just use a large rectangle here, something like this, and that should, in theory, be able to go up to our drop ceiling that we're going to put in. And I'll use something like this, kind of move it back a little bit so we can kind of get that detail with that brick and everything. And it's kind of neat. Something like that. But I do want to make this the kind of the same brick red color, even though it's not brick itself. I think that'll work out pretty well. Now I do want to put in kind of a gray base around all this, kind of like the original one did. So it'll make it look like we kind of continue the pattern all the way around, when in actuality this is just really probably a piece of drywall that we've put up to help divide this space up just a little bit. Kind of like this. Alright, so something like that. I think that looks pretty good. You kind of get the idea. It's not a huge merchandise store, I'll be honest with you, but it'll serve its purpose for what we need it for, so I think it looks pretty good. Let's pop this out there. And like that. We need to go ahead and go in here. That'll be a little light. Let's go back to this wall. I've got it covered with t-shirts now, which is a good and a bad thing. Let's see here. I want to know what this color is. Do that, and then we'll go back to this wall over here. Make that the same color. There we go. That looks a little bit better. We'll drag this across this way. Funny enough, so we were talking about putting an office and things like that behind here. I don't know how much detail I want to put in the very back of the store. But when I was working in Kids Corner, which is the first merchandise store, well, yeah, it was the first merchandise store I ran. The door out to there was two doors you could go out. There was a back door that led out to the wheelchair and stroller rentals, which is one of the stores I also ran. I ran 3 stores at once. It was Kids Corner, Convenience Corner, and then the stroller and wheelchair rentals. So the back door would actually lead out to the stroller and wheelchair rental kind of backside, so where we'd store everything for that store. And then if you go at the front, though, it was really kind of an odd one, because the door itself, from the guest point of view, you would have no idea it was actually a door. It was actually a mirror that was it was actually in a corner, so it was kind of like this, and this would be the door, and it would swing in. But this was also a mirror that guests would look, if they were looking at hats or something like that, they could look at the hats, things like that. And so there would be a lot of times guests would be looking in the mirror, and we'd open the door because we were going to go out and check something, and we would scare guests every time. Not that we wanted to. It was still kind of a fun thing to do, though. Once again, didn't do it on purpose or anything, but stuff like that happened. And that kind of reminds me of just kind of how we might put, I might do a mirror back here that looks like a door. I don't know yet. I might do something like that. Might be kind of fun to do back here. But also, I just realized we have this whole wall that we can put stuff on, and you think, would they really put that much merchandise out? Yes. If they have an opportunity to sell something, they will try to sell it. That's kind of how most theme parks are. And they're kind of a little bit cramped on how they do their merchandise stores. So if we do something like this, I think that'll leave kind of this back wall if we want to put more t-shirts. And guess we probably will put more t-shirts back there. Let's go ahead and actually... You know what? Let's do this. Let's get these guys. We'll go ahead and make another t-shirt area. I thought about doing more t-shirts up here, but I think I might do sweatshirts there, and then do probably a couple more rows of t-shirts back here. Or you know what? We don't have any cups out here. We put them on the display, but we don't have any cups, and that's another big issue. If you have a display for something, you need to have it actually out selling in your stores. Kind of an issue. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a wall of t-shirts. I'm going to copy all 4 of these racks, and then move them down to here. And I'm going to put some shelving in between here, and that kind of makes sense. We'll put plushies here, maybe some cups here. But we still have our t-shirt area there as well. So that kind of makes a little more sense. And if you guys are curious, yes, this is kind of the same process we go through at the beginning of the year of how we want to do things. A lot of stores remain the same, so it's not as bad. I haven't worked in it. Of course, it's been just a little over a year, maybe actually it's been about 2 years since I actually worked in an amusement park. It's pretty crazy. But this is kind of the same process we would have gone through at the beginning of the year. if you guys don't, because the park I used to work at was actually a seasonal park. So we would close, well, when I worked there, it was between November 1st and usually the mid of April was kind of our off season. And so what they would do in the off season, instead of like bringing all the merchandise back to a warehouse, which I don't think the warehouse they have would store all of it. It's a big warehouse, but there's a lot of merchandise in that store, or in stores, stuff like that. What we would do was actually put them out in racks. We'd probably move them like kind of close together, and then saran wrap the entire thing. Put garbage bags over, everything like that, so the dust wouldn't get on them. And so when we were ready for the next season, so probably starting in March, we would start unpacking everything. We would actually start taking the saran wrap off, dusting everything off, things like that. And then when we get new merchandise and things like that, that's, we would work on it at that time. So yes, technically we would have all, technically stuff stays in stores, but it does get wrapped up and things like that. So yeah, so this is kind of how I think our store is going to be for now. Now we need to put some shelving in here. Let's do that next. I have some ideas on how I want to do some special stuff for it. And we'll drink of tea there. Not bad. I'm going to rotate this down. I'm going to actually make this... You know what? Let's leave it gray. I was going to make it red and then do some of these like Theme Maker's Toolkit beams, because those beams are amazing, and do kind of a trim on the edge here. The problem is, though, is that with the red background, I don't know if that would look very good. So we'll do something like this. We placed that one already? We did. There we go. Move that over to here. And slide this one down actually a little bit more there. And let's move this up. So we'll make just some basic shelving out of this. It's not, it's not going to look 100% perfect, but then again, this park I'm just having fun with. And really, it's not meant to be like this, beautiful thing someone can follow if they want to make a perfect park. It's more of just me having fun streaming, and then, when I can actually build some good stuff and kind of show it off to you guys, and that's kind of the idea. And that's kind of the, if anyone has questions, they can always ask me, kind of live. It's been kind of fun. And it also kind of gets me a little more motivated to do stuff like this. Because beforehand, I would like play Playing Coaster maybe an hour a week, maybe 2 hours a week, and I would get like a ride done. And that's it. But since we've actually started the stream, I'm trying to think, we didn't have any of this in here. So pretty much this whole section here is what we've done on streams in the past couple of weeks. I think it looks really nice to me, and it's starting to become, it's like something I can come in here and enjoy. It's actually been really kind of fun. So we got that shelf in there. Let's go ahead and make another shelf like it on the other side. Hopefully this works. It doesn't look like it will, so we'll go ahead and do this and slide this. Oh, come on. Okay, cool. That's going to let me do this. We'll do something like that. We'll only do one shelf like that. And we'll slide this one over for its support. It looks a little more modern than probably Sure. To me though, there's a lot of people that the professional streamers that do this. I would say a lot of them are just huge fans of amusement parks, and I am too. I've been to Disney 23 times. I used to work for Cedar Fair. I've been to quite a few other parks around the country. So a lot of these people are, they know amusement parks. They know how they're designed, and just by being guests, but actually working at one, I started when I was 16. I left when I was 23, 22, somewhere around there. So it's like knowing kind of the ins and outs of how parks design, why is trash cans where they are, why is there benches where they are, and while this isn't 100% perfect yet, we've got a lot of it, kind of, either planned out or have an idea of what we want to do. We just have to have time to do it. That's kind of the other thing is, so that's why I like building, and that's why I like building parks. One of my future goals, stuff like that, I've always wanted to be a Disney Imagineer, and stuff like this is kind of what keeps me motivated to do stuff like that. and one day I'll get there. I just don't know when. But yeah, stuff like this, it makes me really appreciate how, like, when people were like, when Walt Disney was planning out Disneyland, on how every little detail of how he almost planned out everything like this. That's incredible. I don't know if I can actually do stuff like that, just that detail for a whole park. That's kind of what this is, I guess, in a sense. And I've had a lot of fun doing this, and hopefully I'll continue this. I got a feeling, because originally I wasn't going to do too many Planet Coaster streams, but now that we've kind of really got into it and things like that, I only do it for 3 hours a week, and it doesn't seem like that's enough time, almost. I've actually thought about maybe making Planet Coaster 2 times a week, but I'd be a little afraid then I'd get kind of burned out on the whole thing. So I didn't want to do that, so... But it's still, it's a great thing to do, just kind of 3.5 hours a week, just kind of having fun with it, so there is this. I'm looking at it from the outside. That looked really good. I'm starting to really get kind of excited for this. And also something you want to do, once again, something you don't think about in a park is height variation. So you can kind of see here, we have 4, we could do a little more height variation here. And what I mean by that is that, people are kind of, they don't want to see the same thing over and over again. Especially because if you look at something like just a plain, flat something, like a wall or something like that, it doesn't really draw your attention to it. Get this last part here. But like, if I do something like this, if I just raise the t-shirts up a little bit, it'll kind of make your eye kind of wander. So we get up and down, and then up and down. It's kind of a very good way when they're still, like, somebody's scanning something. Like if they're just kind of walking, if they're walking in here and they're kind of looking back here, their eye has to move a lot more. So they're going to take in a lot more stuff rather than just kind of just a straight line. Trust me, it was a pain in the butt to do. I remember actually having, because being one that I was, if I'm not mistaken, I was 6'7", and I was the 3rd tallest person at the park. There was a guy that was 6'9" who worked as a security guard. There was a guy who was 6'10" who was working in, we called it park services, but it was some people who cleaned the park, swept the paths, changed the trash out, things like that. And so in merchandise, I would be the one that would have to be like on ladders, stuff like that, trying to change shelves out, things like that. So that was kind of my job. So I'm trying to do all this whole height variation and trying to get it all right. Can be a bit of a pain in the butt sometimes. Excuse me. But to me, but once you learn why people do that, it's kind of interesting. We probably can actually do it over here, but that one's kind of off to the side there. I think we'd be okay without it. I mean, nice close-up shot of this arch there while the game saves. All right, let's go ahead and start working around the outside here, and leave one of the professor worst there. But we do want to put a few t-shirts out here as well. I'm just putting other ones out here so we have some variation. It's something you also want to learn, or kind of you learn as you're, as I worked in amusement parks. Shirts that can be kind of unisex, different, like unisex colors or design, stuff like that, will always sell a lot better. We very rarely sold. I mean, we did sell it. I shouldn't say that. We sold both, men's specific and women's specific clothing, both in color and design. But a lot of times, people are like, "Hey, do we have something like, a little more, if we say, hey, do you have this ride, or do you have this? Like, do you have your park logo?" And we point, we would show, "Hey, this is kind of the unisex one. This is the female." 9 times out of 10, they would go for the kind of unisex one because they, I don't think they really cared. Almost. There were some that were really neat. What was the other one? I'm trying to think of. There's some other one, like you ever see like the pair shirts? It's like, I'm with her, she's with me, or stuff like that. They would have like riding buddies, or like stuff like that. But a lot of times they would just the unisex shirts would actually sell a lot better than just a normal. I didn't want to do that. Than just a normal. I'm sorry, the unisex shirt would actually. There's a sentence every stream that I cannot pronounce. Usually the unisex stuff would sell better than the just the gender specific ones. And so something you got to think about in your park is how much do you want to devote to like park shirts to things like I really have lost my train of thought here. Things like park shirts and ride specific ones, things like that. If you're near a ride, like right now, if I had number one, I'd love to find something like this. But if I had a Thunder Falls themed shirt, you more than likely I would have 3 or 4 different designs in here. That would be no problem at all, because you're near that ride. You're thinking about that ride, and maybe like, especially if you're a family, if like a family just got off that ride and like, oh, that was a really neat ride, I'd love a shirt of that, and they come across the street and like, oh, there's a shirt there. Or maybe they even got wet on the ride and like, crap, I didn't need a shirt, but I really like that ride. There's a Thunder Falls shirt, I'm gonna buy that one. That happens quite a bit. So stuff like that you got to think about. It's neat to see. You also got to vary up your colors too. You got to kind of match them. Now with the like in-game stuff, like the Gulpy is always kind of green. Street Fox Coffee, you think red. You got to think about that in your merchandise too. If you have just a wall of white T-shirts, it's going to look kind of boring. And very rarely do we actually have white shirts in theme parks. Because you think about it, it's always really usually bright and stuff like that. Number one, the churros shirt, I would almost guarantee you somebody actually has a shirt that just has churros on it. Because for some reason churros are just, I mean, they're good, don't get me wrong, but it's just stuff like that. You got to think about just, colors. You got to think of like tie-dye. Tie-dye is a huge thing in parks. Why? I'm not 100% sure. I'm not a huge fan of tie-dye normally. But you got to think about stuff like that. You know what? I might keep the churro shirt white. Just because. You know what? Let's see here. Something like that. Pip shot, we'll make like a light blue, like that. Okay. And you got to think about this. So your colors that are your more primary colors, your reds, your blues, your greens, something like that, those will actually sell more than things like orange, yellow, pink, purple, things like that. So in something like this, if you're thinking about that, let's say you have a smaller budget park, like kind of like this is. I always think that this park is kind of somewhere in between Cedar Fair and Disney, so we would probably have a good set of merchandise no matter what. However, let's say you're running a smaller budget park that maybe doesn't have quite the finances that a park like this would. You might want to have, or you might have fewer of the more popular shirts than some of the ones that you don't sell as often. So like here, let's actually copy one more of each shirt. And if you guys were kind of curious, there actually is a special way we had to size shirts as well. I don't remember what that is because that's something I didn't want to remember. It's just something that it's like you go large, extra large, small, medium, 3X, and up in the back. I never understood it. I don't know why you'd ever do it, but that's how we size shirts. And while I don't think every park does that, I think it's kind of a Cedar Fair thing, but maybe that's just me. But also grabbing these shirts are kind of a pain in the butt, so let's move on. Yeah, let's just do something like this. Just keep on duplicating all these shirts out like this. Now something else you want to kind of do is make it look like maybe your store is not 100% perfect. Maybe they're putting merchandise out. Well, one of the ways I like doing this is I will take, like, let's say we'll do pip shots. Let's say we only have 2 pip shot shirts up here. And it seems kind of odd. But what we'll do is I'll take these. You know what? I do need to rotate this just there. And what I'll do is I'll actually stack them here on the counter. And it seems a little odd, and wonder why I would do something like this. Well, what we would do as a manager, like let's say I was running low on pip shot shirts, I'd be like, okay, cool, I found the box of them, but they need hangers still. So I would give the box to the employee working the counter and say, hey, in your downtime, hang these shirts up for me, and kind of mix up the variety of them, or kind of size-wise. And so they would kind of go through here, and they would be working on hanging t-shirts while, or working around, like if there was a guest in the part or a guest and they wanted to check out or whatever, they could do that. But still, they would have these shirts kind of laying around. So when they weren't doing anything like that, they could actually be hanging t-shirts, and that's something that, something I would, something that you don't think about once again as just kind of a guest, but something that is kind of very valuable, especially if there's only one person working on the register here. I'll move these over here and just kind of rotate these around, because maybe this person's standing right here and running this register, and they're just kind of bouncing back and forth. Something like this. And then I'll get a box. Let's see here. I need to get in here and go to a box. I just want a cardboard box, something like this. Let's see here. I think actually this one's kind of a smaller one. You know what? If we is that that might be perfect. Just kind of have them toss, put it right here, and there we go. So now it kind of looks like we have, and we can even, if we wanted to get a little even more detailed, we can actually copy all these and rotate them and make it look like there's more shirts in here that maybe they just haven't got a chance yet to put on hangers yet, but there we go. Now if we actually kind of glanced in here, if you were a guest, you would actually see the box behind the counter that they were unloading new shirts out of and maybe putting them on hangers. But yeah, I think that looked pretty good. It kind of gives you the feeling that yes, this is kind of a live store. Somebody's working in here. People are buying things. And that's kind of what you want to look. That's kind of the look I like in Planet Coaster. It gives you a sense that yes, this park could be very real. It could actually be somewhere in the world. And that's kind of neat. Something else you kind of want to do, if you want to make it look a little bit better, spread out your shirts. So maybe you don't have as many there, but maybe, we'll keep all the churro ones there, but maybe somebody was looking at a Just Ribbon shirt, which is a great name for a store. It's one of the food places in the game. And then all of a sudden, they decided they didn't want it. And so, for some reason, they just tossed it on the floor. Which, by the way, this does happen. And so, yeah, these have a Just Ribbon shirt on the ground. So, maybe that one of your associates needs to go pick that up. Kind of the idea. And you see kind of the rest of the shirts are kind of very, this side I'll kind of leave like, nice. Because these are the shirts that would sell the most, so that they would stock those the most. But maybe over here, maybe not ideal. So I think that looks really nice. And that's kind of how that would be. And then also, let's see here. So we got a couple more. We got some other ones we can put over here. We'll do sweatshirts over there. So I think that'll work out pretty well. If you are really kind of curious, do they really put this many shirts in the store? Yes. And this is kind of stuff they kind of detail they go into. So let's do this. We'll put a mix. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do either. What I keep doing though is if you hover over one of the Theme Maker's Toolkit's items, there is a box. Oh, hold on, let me go back to Theme Maker's Toolkit here. If you look here, there's a little like gear or a Steam logo. If you click on that, it actually takes you to the workshop page for that item, and I keep clicking that accidentally. Not ideal, but it does happen. Let's get the Professor Worst shirt out of the way there. Just kind of do this, and we'll kind of modify the shirts once again here. Let's go up and we'll copy this one. We'll do copy that one. Do a Chief Beef shirt up on top here. And then we'll do a Cosmic Cow. We'll do that one right there. Do we have another Cosmic Cow one? I thought we did. Maybe we don't. That's okay if we don't. Something like that. Then we'll do a donut shirt, because why not? Because who doesn't like a good donut? Something like that. And then, let's see, we'll go through here. The Cosmic Cow, we'll make, maybe we do like a nice faded red on that one. Kind of like the Firehouse thing. Chief Beef's got to be nice dark blue. Burrito Bonanza, we'll do a nice yellow. Like that. And the donut shirt, which I don't remember what this one's called, like the actual store looks. Do a nice purple, like that, and then just gonna go through here. Once again, we'll just kind of do the same trick as this. Just kind of start duplicating all this across like this. Now, once again, these shirts, they're a little bit bolder colors, things like that. Probably wouldn't sell as much, so we'll probably have a little bit fuller rack of these, just because we, technically we probably wouldn't sell as many. So something like that still looks really nice, though, that we have those there. We'll keep the shelves kind of on pause right now, but then we'll go over here to these shirts over here. Let's see here. Let's do that. We'll do the this one. This is I think the French bakery one, which funny enough, we do have one of those in the park. So it's actually located on our boardwalk area. Something like that. Let's get rid of these two shirts as well. And then, let's see here. We haven't done a pizza pen one yet, so we'll do that. We'll do a sugary treats one, I think is what that is. Let's see what we got. Sushi, I have a tiki cheeky, and the worst shirt. I think we already have those, but something like that. I think that one's a little low there. Let's go ahead and fix that. I think the tiki cheeky, I think it's got to be a nice dark green. This one, it's Le 27 Sept. I have no idea. I'm not French, nor do I claim to be. And something I don't, I'm not really good. I mean, I'm okay with English. It's technically the only language I speak. Technically, I do know sign language as well. I haven't practiced it in a while. I should. It's a very, very nice thing to have. But yeah, when it comes to other languages, I always have an issue with them. But I do try. Something like that. Let's keep on building these back as well. Now, the pizza pen shirts probably would be a little bit better seller because, once again, black, very good color to sell. White, not so much. There we go. So there is that. So now we got all of our shirts in, which really does make this place look like a actual store. I'm actually getting kind of excited about this. It actually looks like a nice thing. So let's go over to, I think they're called sweatshirts. Or is it a hoodie? I know people call them different stuff. Yeah, there they are. Now I only have, you got to think about this now. We only have 6 slots for these. So I do want to do a Planet Coaster one because we did advertise that one. We have that one on display. So we do need to put that somewhere along here. So let's do this. Let's raise it up. I got to rotate it just a little bit more. Like that. Let's go and do a... Do they not? Oh, let's see here. I was like, they don't have. It doesn't look like they have a King Coaster one. Oh, they do. Hold on, I lied. There we go. Like that. Looking at other ones, it's kind of hard to see them. Kind of as this small thing there. They have a blank one, which honestly they probably wouldn't sell at a park. Some might. But like, let's do a churros one. Because the churro one is kind of a blank one. They really don't have like they don't have any like writing or anything like that on it. And people would go and buy a churro shirt. I mean, if you Google like Disney snack shirt, there's a churro shirt out there. I've seen them before, and they're kind of funny. They're made to be kind of a funny thing, but they're still. I mean, I'm trying to think. Generally, I don't wear one, but I would wear stuff like that. We'll do a Pep Shot shirt, why not? Alright, so there is our 6 hoodies we're going to be selling in the park here. Wouldn't probably be wearing one right now because number one is both July in-game, it's August out of the game, so be a little warm to wear a hoodie now. But actually, this is something we would do in the fall if we were during our Halloween events. We would actually have a lot of hoodies available. We would actually take up a rack kind of like this, maybe 6 or 8 of them, and actually convert them to our either Halloween event ones or just regular hoodies from the park. Those were actually pretty big sellers as well. They were like $30 if I remember correctly, but still not a bad thing to have, especially because at least where I live, it would be like during the day, it would be like it could be 65, 70 degrees, but at night it'd be like in the 30s and 40s, and so it can get pretty cold during the fall. And there's some days it didn't get past 60, but it would stay there all day. They were just weird, but it does happen. So we'll leave those kind of stocked because in the middle of the summer you probably wouldn't sell very many of these. But you would still sell maybe with the occasional 1 or 2. So, but they would get pretty restocked pretty well quick. So I don't think that I don't think we'll do much. Well, that's not what I wanted to do there. Duplicate. There we go. I hate to say this. It's like I did plan on doing more than just the employee cafeteria and this store, but we're already almost halfway through the stream, and we just got this. We're getting close to having this store done. We still have to do the shelving in the middle of the store and along the back wall. So I was kind of hoping to do a little bit more than that. I always want to do things off stream, but it's like, man, I kind of want to show other people how this, because I also like you guys' feedback as well. Like, hey, I don't like this, or I like this. How did you do this? And it also helps me gives me ideas as well. But as you're looking now, we actually have. I think it's starting to look a lot more like a functioning store now. Something that you actually would go into and buy things. I mean, that's also something you got to think of. It's like, would you want to go into the store and buy something? That's kind of a big deal you got to think about. All right, grab some water here. All right, so what can we do next? Well, we need to do some backpacks. So let's. All right, cool. Same thing. Same group there. So we can just duplicate these. Let's do something like this, and we'll just kind of dot them around here. Backpacks aren't really a huge thing, I would say, in a park like this. But we do have them, so let's just go ahead and use them. I probably won't use that top shelf just because that would probably be where mannequins would be, and so you probably wouldn't put anything on there. The other thing is, though, is people have problems reaching it, and so if people have problems reaching it, they don't want to buy it, because a lot of people don't like asking for help, which is kind of odd, because I didn't mind helping people. That was kind of my ideas. I didn't mind, but some people are a little kind of weird about it. They just don't want to ask people for help. They want to do everything themselves, which I get. But at the same time, so that's why I wouldn't use a top shelf there. That's where you probably put a mannequin there or something like that. So that's just me. For something like this, we'll do a whole thing of backpacks, because why not? I think it looks pretty neat. And also, people use backpacks in parks. That's something, they'll carry at least when I go, or with family or whatever, throw a first aid kit in there, because one of us is probably doomed to fall sometime. And usually does happen. Or we carry things like Dramamine, bottles of water, ponchos, things like that. But actually, more recently, we've been switching over to using drawstring bags because they're a lot more convenient and they're a lot lighter to carry. So that's just us. That's how I do things. Let's rotate this one because somebody was looking at it but didn't put it back correctly, like the heathens they are. That's how it is. When I would, work in stores and things like that, everything would look great until the guests came in. The guests always ruined it for us, which is a bit of a joke, but that's kind of how you gotta. I mean, that's how you kind of think of things sometimes. But we would always fix them. That was kind of our job, and I was okay with it. So let's just kind of rotate this one a little bit. Rotate this one a little bit. We'll keep this one the same angle. Just kind of put it back a little bit more. Do I want to do... Well, there's those shelves filled up. I was kind of hoping to maybe put a King Coaster plushie area somewhere. As to where, I'm not sure yet, but we do need to put one in. Let's do some cups along here. This is going to be annoying, I know it is. Do something like this and there. Now these shelves I don't mind doing the top ones because they're actually not that super tall. But we would have just, shelves full of cups and things like that because, I mean, cups are, I don't know, while, especially like coffee mugs, things like that, people use quite a bit. It's stuff that people will buy in parks. The problem is like, when I used to work there, we didn't have anything like a package pickup or anything like that. So they have to carry around stuff like this all the time. So these probably wouldn't be a huge seller here because they would have to walk around at least from this section here to the front of the park with it. And, it kind of gets kind of annoying. So that's something you got to think about. It's like, where do we want to sell stuff like this? That people would be more likely to buy it. And probably back here probably wouldn't be the most ideal, but we'll still put them back here anyways because that's how you do things. And we'll also do some patterns too. Maybe do a 2 on the next shelf. And then do a 3 on the shelf below that. And we'll do a 3 on like this one we can actually see like, hey, somebody may have bought one of these. Then we also will say maybe, let's see if we can do this. Well, trying to highlight that. Oh well, not really that concerned with that. I was going to have one. Maybe I can do probably actually up here. Actually, have one missing there as well. Because right, you would nothing. It's not going to be perfect. So especially if the park's been open for a little bit. Things like this are going to be messed up. There's going to be things missing, either been knocked over, or maybe that somebody bought one as well. So that does happen quite a bit. This might actually, well, it's a little big. The Planko board game's pretty funny. By Geekism, pretty good streamer, or pretty good. I think he does YouTube as well as some other stuff. That's a interesting looking camel. But we'll put them up there. Pretty neat. Once again, plushies, big thing here at the parks. Maybe we'll do like one. Well, you know what? Let's actually do this. Let's do. That's a little. I want to do like a more orange-ish. There we go. That's kind of what I'm looking for. And we'll do 2 shelves of these guys. And then we'll scroll this down. Remove these just a little bit. If you couldn't tell, I kind of go into really way too much detail about both food service and merchandise stuff. Because that's what I know. I knew that stuff very well. Funny enough, in 7 years I'm working for Cedar Fair. I never did rides. Which is a little bit different. It's something that a lot of people want to do rides, and so You know, something I just never. I would have done it. I mean, it would have been a fun job. I mean, I would have enjoyed it, I think. But also, the two highest at the time, the two highest paying positions were in food service and in park services. And I wasn't a huge fan of scrubbing toilets, so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go work in food service, and so I did. And that's kind of how I got started in food service. Then both my parents worked in food service, so it was kind of a neat thing to do. Let's see here, like that. Put some cosmic cows out here because I kind of like those plushies. They're a little bit nicer, a little more well done. Probably about the appropriate size too, because scaling in Planco can be a little odd, but that's okay. Let's see, what else can we be putting up here? I might leave a couple of these shelves blank just in the back here. Not because I don't want to put things on here, but the problem is, number one, if we're not going to see it very often, even if we just kind of take a peek in the store. I mean, if we really get into the store, we'll see them, but I don't know. It's a little bit of an eraser to actually sell. You know, we could actually use these as like souvenir, like not souvenir cups because we do have those as well, but like specialty cups like that we're just selling. That'll work out pretty good. Duplicate all these across here. And then we'll get rid of this one, and we'll move this one slightly over and forward. We'll have this one rotated down because somebody knocked it over. Because this is stuff like that you got to think about, like how, you know, it's not. Would it be realistic? Yes. And there is a point where, you know, something like this, where most of these are still aligned. There's one missing. There's a couple knocked over. Something like this. This would be kind of normal. And you know, people always want to make these stores look perfect. Like, you know, everything has to be perfect. And to be honest with you, it hardly is ever like that. And so, so it's just something you got to think about when you're doing stuff like this. Let's see here. Oh, there's the souvenir cups. If you guys are curious, we do have actual oh shoot, what is that company? Now, I'm gonna remember the company later. But I actually looked it up. You can actually just buy souvenir cups from people. Not from like park specific ones, but you can actually buy it from that company if you want to make your own souvenir cups, which is kind of neat. I actually made like a design, like a advertisement from those souvenir cups, so they actually look pretty good. Well, we are kind of out of stuff. All right, we'll just leave these back ones kind of blank here. Let's do something like this. You know what? We'll add a couple more cups into here. And you know what we could do? Make these like a green color. Maybe like a bright green. Like, yeah, maybe a little brighter. There we go. And it's kind of do different, like, this is kind of be maybe different styles. Or maybe just, you know, different colors. People like different colors, so let's do that. We'll do it like maybe a nice light blue, maybe. Yeah, like that. Then we'll leave the bottom shelf kind of closed there, or kind of open there. I think that works out pretty well. You know, a little different. Let's go back to the hoodies, because I do want to put at least 2 racks, like to this either side here, full of them. We'll do a Chief Beef, or not Chief Beef, King Coaster one on one side, and you know what? I need to do it the other way. I'll do a Planet Coaster, or a King Coaster on one side, and probably the Planet Coaster logo on the other side. Ooh. Oh, see. Did I... So if you guys are curious, I do... If you see me, we're looking down this way, kind of that way, kind of the bottom right-hand corner. I have my phone pulled up here, so I can kind of monitor myself if something were to happen to the stream. So every once in a while, I'll just kind of glance down there and make sure everything's still going all right. And all of a sudden, it just stopped for some reason. I was panicking just for a moment, but I think everything's okay now. You know what? Let's do more like a light purple one, because you know we did a blue one before. This one, it was what, gray or black? What color? Maybe like a gray. Let's make this I don't know, maybe like a light pink, maybe like something like that. You know, why not? It's I think it'll work. Come on, people. There we go, and now we can just duplicate these across like so. And yes, this is kind of time consuming to do it like this, but it's, you know, makes it a little bit, you know, the details like this actually make something like this make it look a little more realistic, I think, at least. So it's something we, you know, unfortunately, you know, if we don't get to the like things like the employee restaurant today, we'll have another stream next week to do so. So not too awful bad. So there is that rack. And I think I'll leave, you know, a couple spacing. You know, might have sold some, or they might not put them out yet. Very, very good possibility it could be either one of those. Let's do another. Let's do one more hoodie. And I just realized that I put all these hoodies on backwards. Not ideal, because right now you'd have to like reach under. Oh, hold on, I didn't grab all of them. Oh, that's not gonna work either. Let's try this again. Still ain't gonna work. That's better. Because right now you'd have to reach underneath and kind of pull them out first, or pull them like inside before they can go out. Because the hangers are actually going the wrong way. That looks a little bit better though. I just thought of that. Like I saw that, like, oh boy. And if I didn't correct it, somebody would have, either on YouTube or in the stream. So there we go. I think that looks a little bit better. And we'll do one more hoodie on this side. We'll do a, you know what? Let's do a sushi one, because the sushi one kind of looks kind of plain anyways. It's just a piece of like cartoon sushi. Let's see if I can pull it up here for you. There it is. And we'll make this maybe like let's see, maybe a red, maybe like a darker red. I think that'll work out pretty well. Something like this. We'll just maybe right in, we'll bring it all the way to like red saturated. Maybe something like that. I think that'll work pretty well. And let's do the other side. Let's do a shirt, like a t-shirt. And we'll do t-shirts on the other side as well. You know what? We can do a sushi shirt on this side, or on the other side at least. Something like this. We'll rotate it this way. Move it down. Come on. It's auto-saving again. There we go. Move it down. We need to rotate it just slightly. There we go. I do want to change the color on it as well. I'll probably, you know what, let's just, you know, so let's do a red, but let's do it like a teal, or like a seafoam green. I don't know. It looks kind of nice. And we'll go ahead and duplicate everything like this. Do. We got this kind of boring process again, but you know what? It does happen. Kind of space these out a little bit more, maybe. Alrighty, so there is that. We got one more rack to go. I think this actually is looking pretty neat so far. Let's see here. say, I think we got all the restaurants in as shirts. So let's just do another King Coaster shirt. That's maybe a different color. Maybe we'll do it like a nice light pink like that. Come on. One thing working with Theme Maker's Toolkit items you kind of gotta watch for, especially with these smaller ones like this, it can be kind of a pain in the butt with the Axis tools because since they weren't really designed for, or they weren't really, you know, made for Planko. I mean, they were made for Planko, but they weren't like originally designed by the people. Sometimes the arrows kind of get in the way of kind of what you're seeing. So, all right. So the Gulpy shirt originally. Let's do this one in like a light orange. Something like that. Saturate a little bit more. I think that'll work. And then the King Coaster, we did like a light blue. We do like a maybe like a light, like a lime, maybe something like that. It looks like one of the shirts. There's a funny story behind this, but it looks like one of those shirts that if you were to wear one of those on the green screen, it would just cut the shirt out. My dad did that one time. I think it was the same vacation we went on right before I started this project. We went to. My family vacations are always like odd, and what I mean by it is kind of the itinerary. We are bouncing all over the place, but we always have a lot of fun. Like this vacation, we stayed a night at Disney. Hold on, did we stay a night at Disney? No, we didn't. I'm trying to think here. We had to have stayed a night. Anyways, so we stayed every night at Disney. We rented a car. We drove out we were going on the Disney cruise, but we drove out the day before the cruise was supposed to launch and went to the Kennedy Space Center. And at the Kennedy Space Center, before one of the tours, they actually they take your photo and they do kind of the on-demand green screening where they add like the rockets in the background, things like that. Well, my dad was wearing like a neon green shirt that day, and he still has it. But he just didn't think about it because, you know, he figured, oh, you know, I'll just wear the shirt today, whatever. And when they took our photo, when they green screened him out, you just saw, like, you saw right through him, which was the funniest thing I have seen in a while. And while I think I can fix it, it might take us a bit. But, yeah, I just think that kind of neon green shirt reminded me of that story. And I don't know, it's something like that you gotta, you know, you don't think about when you're going on vacation, but something you might need to think of, especially if you're going to a place where they take a lot of photos, amusement parks being one of them. But yeah, I think that might be our store done. And you see here, kind of the shelf in the back doesn't really kind of affect it too much. Maybe you can walk, if we kind of take a swoop around here, we can kind of see everything here. Kind of see our full store here. I mean, fair enough, it doesn't have a roof on it. We'll fix that here in a second. But yeah, I think this looks pretty well done. I think this is something that people would go into. They would buy things, hopefully, and then, or if they're waiting for somebody, if they're waiting on somebody that's on Thunder Falls, they can easily kind of wander in here and see what's going on, because it's right across the street from Thunder Falls' exit. So it makes total sense that somebody could be waiting. And that happened quite a bit too. Where I worked at, if you're familiar with Kings Island, they have a coaster there called Diamondback. I used to work in the Diamondback trading post, so if you were exiting the ride, you come right through our store, and there was actually some benches there and things like that, so people could wait. But people were like, you know, if you go up and ask them, it's like, hey, can I help you with anything? No, we're just waiting on somebody off the ride. It happens a lot too, so. We do need to put a door back here, though, before I forget, because I will forget, and then try to build the rest of it. Let's go ahead and put a door. What kind of door do we want now? It's kind of the doors in this game I've never been a huge fan of, because a lot of them are really kind of flat. They really don't make any sense. Like this one, we could very well use that door, but it's also clear, so you would see right through and say, hey, there's not really a exit there. And also, it's massive, so, you know, not ideal. So now I have to try to figure out what kind of door do I want to put on here. I could put something like that. Would I actually put a double door on something like this? Yeah, probably. Is it common? Not as much as you think it would be, but it does, you know, there is stores that do have things like this in them to help, especially if it's a large traffic store, they might put some doors like this on there. It's a little older for what I'm looking for. Or something like this would work. This would kind of be like a foggy glass like it is, just so that guests could not see into the offices here. Just pulling out just enough. Alright, so it should be there. We'll slide this over to about there, and I think that's where we're going to put our door at. Ooh, that's a little bright. Let's do that. And we'll do this in the gray. That one's in. Kind of help match everything. Like that. I think that looks pretty good. Oh, and there's the firehouse door. Yeah, I think that'll be our merchandise store completed. It only took us an hour and 51 minutes, so not too terribly bad. But yeah, I think that's kind of at least the main floor done. We need to do a drop ceiling as well. So I was thinking about how to do a drop ceiling, and I was actually watching Mass Bandit, I believe it was, and he was doing a drop ceiling in one of the buildings he was working on for a friend. I don't remember who that friend was, but let's see here. If I do something like this, let's actually get this, rotate this flat, slide this up like that, and then we'll cross this. And this will actually be kind of, if you don't know what a drop ceiling is, you probably have seen them. I mean, they're really common. You probably don't know what, you know, what that would be exactly. If you've ever been into like an office building, they have the tiles on the ceiling where it's like it's not quite foam, but they're they're very easy. You just push them up and then out, and then there's a whole kind of like an attic space. That's a drop ceiling. That's kind of what we're doing here. They're pretty popular in parks because then you can hide things like the ventilation, things like that in them, as well as you can actually make a space seem a lot bigger than it actually is with a drop ceiling. Or if you want to limit how big a building actually is, you can kind of do something like this as well. As well as I think I can also copy this and make this look like the flat roof of the building. I think that's what I'm going to do eventually. I think that pretty well covers that area there. This one's going to be the fun corner, I get a feeling. Because I think it's going to stick out this way. Yep, and I kind of feeling that's going to be kind of a pain in the butt, but alright. Let's do something like this. We might just have to get a smaller piece, that's all. Get a scenery. Go to art shapes, flat, and then we'll go to the smaller one. Yeah, I think it kind of messed up a little bit on the front side here because it is not quite lined up with the front of the store. I'll slide it forward just a little bit here. Probably have to rotate it just slightly to get it to line up properly. Looks pretty good there. We can probably slide one of these back just a little bit to cover that hole there. And then that's pretty well covered there. All right, let's actually do this. Well, does this not go over all the way? If it doesn't, that would be an issue, and it is not. So let's fix that. something like there and there. Slide that over to the wall there. We're going to fix this little section here now. That's okay. Let's do that. And done. Try to... Alright, let's try to get this whole roof in here now. Like that and that. Alright, so here's how I want to do this. I want to copy all this. I'm going to move it out this way. Eventually that will be the upper part of the roof there. I have no problem with that. But now I want to actually create the tiling of the drop ceiling. Now, first things first, however, I do need to get some tiles, or some beams in here that I can actually use for the tiling. I'm going to probably do this in almost like a black, like a real dark gray almost. Yeah, that'll work. And then I need something a little bit taller than that. This is the one thing about these beams. It's like they're nice, but I have no idea how to use it. Like I've used them before to the 0.9. That's a 12 by 12. So a 3.9 12. All right, that looks better. Also 24. Okay, I think a 12 by 12 is going to work. All right, so here's how I'm going to do this. So I'm going to lay this down like this. I'm going to do this on top first, and then I'm going to come back through. I'll push it, technically push it through the ceiling, and make the drop ceiling out of it. I figured it'd be a little easier to do it on top, rather than trying to do it. Kind of just doing it free willy kind of thing. All right, here we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna rotate this and down like this. Now I'm just gonna eyeball this. If you really want to get precise, you could, but I think, I mean, this is gonna be covered up. You know, it's gonna be on the underside of a roof, so I don't think this will quite be, you know, something we wouldn't go, or if we wanted to go look at it, we could, but it's something we're not going to look at very often, kind of thing. So do something like this. Strawberry Cow Forever, thank you for following. I do appreciate that. Let's see, something like that. That should work. And welcome to the stream. I'm glad you joined us today. Bring this over just for one more time here, and that should do it for there. I probably will have to put a couple more vertical lines that way once we get up there, but for now, we're just gonna go with this. That should work, and that should work here. Yes, I do realize this is going to be a pain in the butt to actually move, because this is, I mean, there are not a whole lot of beams here, but still, it's going to be kind of a pain. And then looks like I can put one more beam over here, like so. And then we'll go ahead and just gonna go through here. That okay. We'll start moving these, just these four here. And one more. There we go. Three more of these. Let's keep moving them up. Last two over here. We'll keep moving those. So we might just need one extra one on this end, like so. Like that. Alright, now we can go ahead in here and add all, or get these. We'll actually add a couple more to here. Just something like there should work. And I'll fix this here in a second so they don't stick out either side here, but Do that, and one more. I think that should be plenty of tiles for that drop ceiling. Now we do need to come to this side because they are sticking out this side. We don't really want that. Something like that, and like that. And there we go. There's our drop ceiling. Well, sort of. Still working on it a little bit. If I highlight, it's going to highlight everything in the store, isn't it? All right. So we'll just have to go through here, and we have the fun task of highlighting every piece of this beam here, which shouldn't be too awful bad, but you know, it does happen. Like that. Now, fingers crossed, it actually looks as good as I think it's going to. Because once again, I haven't really tried this before, but I figured for something like this, and we've taken the time to actually do this. So I figured it would be kind of worthwhile to see if we can, you know, just to try stuff. And that's kind of the one thing I do like about playing Planet Coaster is I can try things like this on stream as well. And then I can kind of get almost, not instantaneous feedback, but pretty close feedback from you guys and from people watching later on like YouTube, things like that. Or you've got to be kidding me. We were almost done and I accidentally clicked it off. All right, well, that's a bummer. All right, you know what? Let's do this. Let's just take all the vertical lines first, and then we'll push those through. We'll push all the horizontal ones next. Like so. Nope. That's what I'm afraid of, is doing that again. That would suck. All right, we'll do this and that. Push it through if we can get a better camera angle on this. This is also one of the reasons I didn't want to do this upside down, because the camera would not be fun to cooperate with. Alrighty, there is our vertical beams in. Let's go back and work on our horizontal ones now. That is something I didn't, you got to think about this a little bit of how you're going to move things into place. It was a little bit easier for us to move or to build it up here than we think about how to move it into place, things like that. So, you know, it's not too awful bad though. We've got almost everything highlighted again. But now we got to make sure we line everything up, and that's kind of the other issue we got to think about. So, hopefully it shouldn't be too hard, but. Go. All right, let's start moving this thing. Well, maybe. There we go. We're scrolling. I'm right in the middle of the ceiling, so hopefully this won't be too awful bad. We'll drop this one just a little bit lower so that it can kind of give a little more depth. And if we zoom under here now. Yeah, there we go. Gonna drop this if I can turn it. There we go. There's our drop ceiling. That looks a lot, well, a little bit of glitching, but yeah, that looks a lot better. Actually, looks like an actual plain ceiling on it. That looks really good. I think our merchandise store has actually turned out pretty well, at least so far. Probably should put something along here, kind of up here. Maybe actually have the name of the store, like along here. Maybe a nice painting of it. I don't know. Kind of neat. Let's get the roof on this place so that we can at least call the at least we can get one thing done today. So that, hit edit this building, and this one this is why I cannot plan this. I can just go in here, highlight everything here, hit X, and move it back into place. Kind of the idea I had earlier for this, at least. Although I do realize that there is no back wall to this place. So that's an issue. But if I do something like that, I can then probably just go in here and copy all this. Raise this up. And there we go. So there is at least our merchandise store done, and I still have yet to name it. I'm not great with names, so if you guys think of anything, it'd be great. I know my dad's a huge follower of mine. He loves coming up with ideas like this. He came up with the idea for Thunder Falls, or at least the name for it and some of the story a little bit, so that is pretty neat. But I think our merchandise store looks pretty nice, if I do say so myself. Yeah, and I think people are... I don't know if I'll make it work. It's not going to be able to work anyways. But I thought about putting a path through here that people can walk around in. But I think, you know what? I think I want to leave it like that. Excuse me. My throat's getting a little sore right now. But I always leave it like that. No big deal. And then we can start working on the rest of this stuff here. Now, big thing, what do we actually want to do here? Kind of an issue. Now, what we could do is, I'm thinking about making this an employee area. And this would be one of the entrances to it. And then we'd have another one probably right here. It'd be an easier way to get from this side of the park over there. And then we have one over here, which they can enter that way. I don't know. We'll also have to wall this off too, so that we can show that. We actually do that real quick. Just so that show that there is a back where there is some space between the store itself and the employee cafeteria area. Something like that. We'll put a roof over this entire place eventually, but for now, that's what we'll do. You know what? I might save the employee cafeteria area for next stream. I do kind of want to work on this area a little bit more to help kind of define it a little bit better. Not bad. It's gonna roll nice like sun glow effect. You see that? That's pretty neat. But essentially, what I think I want to do here is I'm going to put a gate here. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll put a gate here. And essentially, build it'd be like just a wooden fence around the backside of this. It's not really, it's really just to keep people out. It's not really, there's nothing really back here that would hurt. I mean, beyond like, it's not a ride back here. There's no machinery or anything like that. It's just a wood fence to keep people from seeing what's behind here. And I think I want to make this kind of an older fence. If you look kind of back here, this is kind of an older, I mean, if you're newer here, which we have, I mean, the 3 new followers at least, they're new here. This part of the park was actually built in the 1980s. So this part, you know, if we're kind of going by modern standards, things like that, this part of the park would have been a little bit older. So the wood itself would probably be quite a bit older itself, especially if they haven't fixed it yet or haven't repainted it or replaced it. Which is you know, a big thing in a park. You know, you don't want to if you don't have to spend money, you probably won't. So let's try to find a nice, like, what I do, especially if I'm aging something, is I'll try to make it look like it would have right when the park opened. Something like this. I think that looks like a pretty good one. Now with wood, it's a little bit different because a lot of times you can make this look darker or lighter, like it's faded. This with wood though, you actually kind of want to make it gray a little bit. So we actually kind of move it over here, and that kind of makes it look like it's been either oxidized, it's been out in the sun a little bit. I think that'll work out pretty well. I kind of want to make this a line from the back of here. So we'll start the fence there. We'll just continue this. Number one, I really do like this fence. It's a lot easier than trying to make your own wooden fence. I did do that. If I ever show off some of my older parks, this is actually park number 3 I started, and I think this one I've actually worked on probably the most. But I actually have 2 other parks that I've worked on. Both are just abysmal because they were just stuff I was learning how to play Planet Coaster, and this is kind of the first one where I felt actually confident in what I could do. So what I'm gonna do just kind of an overlap here, kind of very similar. You might see this in a park where you'll see something like this. You'll see kind of a back fence back here. There'll just be enough space to put let a person back here, and that's pretty normal. I noticed that we're actually on a little bit of a slope here. Oh, well, that's lovely. All right, let's do something like this. Just gonna bring it down just a little bit. That should work out pretty good. Like that. this, and then we'll do the overlap as well. We'll put an authorized personnel only sign on this back fence here. Just show that, yeah, this is actually a off-limits area to the guest. This is just a back way to get into a backstage area like this. So let's go to Theme Maker's Toolkit, because I'm pretty sure I have one of these somewhere. As to where, not 100% sure, but we'll find it. Let's see here. It's an exit sign. It's not quite what I want. I mean, stuff like this can work, like the keep outside. I prefer one that said, like, authorized personnel only. I'm pretty sure we have one somewhere. Let's see here. I won't be able to find it now. You will get very well. It's not quite it. Come on, signs. Maybe if I just put only, that might. Nope. You just put sign. My remain seated sign, queue jumping. Aha, here we go. One of these is the authorized personnel only ones. Oh, there we go. This says staff only. That works too. And there we go. I mean, that will keep out most people. And there's some people that would want to come back here and see what's back here, or just want to cut through somewhere. But yeah, I think that'll work out just fine here. And then we got our backstage area. Something I do want to, there's a couple things I do want to put back here. I do want to make an employee area, so I probably will actually, I thought about leaving this actually open, because even the park I worked at, we actually had an outdoor seating area that we could go eat outside, and there was actually a Diamondback. If you ever were Diamondback, the last turn before the station, if you actually look through the trees and there's a fence there, right behind that fence is actually the employee cafeteria. If you're ever curious, that was actually our back door. That's actually where we used to sit and eat. I used to eat lunch out there all the time. And I'm trying. It's like it'd be kind of neat to see something like that. But with this ride this close, I mean, we could put some trees here to kind of help dampen the noise a little bit. But also, things like I want to put a trash compactor back here. It's a very common thing. I want to put a cardboard drop-off area. Well, you know, things like that you got to think of as well. By the way, something that you don't see a lot of people do in Planet Coaster is actually make cardboard recycling areas. And it doesn't seem like it's a huge thing, you know, whatever, it's cardboard. But you don't realize how much cardboard a park like this would use. Let me go grab one of the Barneys really quick. If you don't know what a Barney is, by the way, this is actually another part of the park we built a little bit earlier, a couple streams ago actually. It's called a tilt trash cart, is what we're looking for. I'm going to get one of those over here. I'll show you what I mean by this. Tilt. This also helped me build the trash compactor as well, so that's why I wanted to get it. But it's something like this. And so, if you don't know what these are, essentially what you would do with those is you would fill those up either with garbage or with cardboard, and you can take them back to these locations back here and dump them somewhere. Trash, you would actually go into a trash compactor, which I want to build one real quick because that shouldn't take too long to do. But yeah, you see how tall they really are. You can really sit inside of one of them, but you probably wouldn't because these are usually disgusting. But you would throw, you could load trash, you could load cardboard, stuff like that. It would be no problem if after we've flattened the cardboard, so if you take a box, you can cut the seams on it and flatten the cardboard out. One of these we could easily fill with cardboard, if not 2 or 3 more. Especially merchandise. Merchandise used a lot more cardboard than normal. So yeah, there is a lot of cardboard that would come through here. But every 2 or 3 days they'd have to come pick it up, or it would just be overflowing. and sometimes they didn't, and they realized how bad it was. But that, beyond that, let's actually build a trash compactor, and I'll kind of explain what that does. So a trash compactor is something that was run by a local garbage company by Rumpke. If you guys are familiar with Cincinnati at all, they actually would bring in dumpsters. So I'll bring a dumpster up here. So I do have one I'm thinking of here. This one does have cardboard in it. Ours wouldn't technically. But we'll use this one instead. So you'd have something like this. And we'll actually make it the brown color, because they use brown for some reason. That's a little light brown. Let's do kind of a darker brown. That looks a little bit more like what I'm looking for. So it looks something like this. And then at the very back here, we'll need to grab some fence. Because there's a kind of a proper procedure there. Because this thing can be kind of dangerous. Let's do this. I need a fence. I'm going to use a chain link fence, because that was probably the closest to what I'm thinking here. There's what I'm looking for. And this is how we can do this. So we want to put one there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to combine these two things into a scenery group, and then edit the group. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and... Come on. Oh, it's not in the group. That's why. That would be why I can't select it. Let's do that. Let's add that into the group. Oh, well, I didn't want to do that. And edit the group now. All right, I want to move this thing in here. So essentially, how this worked is you would wheel one of these things up to an elevator, essentially, and this elevator would then tip this thing out into a compactor. That compactor would then compact it into the dumpster, and then about every 2 or 3 days, they would come by, empty those, or they would pull this dumpster out and put a new one in, and the cycle would continue. So, first thing I want to do is actually build the cart that this thing would sit in. So essentially, there was a cage here that you'd have to have a special key to unlock. When I was working in food service, my first year as a manager there, my 3rd year actually working for Kings Island, I actually wore this key. I was one of the few people who actually could wear it. You had to be at least 18 to have it on you, so I was at least that old when I think I was like about to turn 19 actually. So yeah, let's make this nice brown color. Essentially what you would do is you would wheel it into this cage here. You would then lock the door. It had to be locked because there was a safety pin in there that you'd have to insert. Something like that. And like that. And so you'd wheel it up on here, and there would be 2 hydraulic rams that were attached to here. So we do need to get some of those. We might need to make the cage a little bit bigger. Matter of fact, it might just be easier for me if I just made this 2 meters wide, because then I could just put a second cage door there. We'll have to figure out a way. So something like that, and then grab both of these panels down here. Move these to the center of this thing. And slide that over here. We'll use some of these half circles over here. Probably a little too big for that one. That will work. I'm trying to do this as accurate as I remember it, because it's been a little bit since I've actually used one of these things, and it's very possible that you've never seen one, and it's not uncommon. Because once again, it's one of those things that you don't think about in a park, which is okay, because this is kind of the dirty stuff that you don't think about. All right, so we need to figure out how to do some sort of hydraulic ram. I'm trying to think what would make. You know what? There is a. You're gonna think I'm a little crazy here. But on our, well, I knew there was one on our bar, but at least I think there was one on our bar. But I know there was one on the front of our pub. You know, we can actually use the road poles. Come to think about it, we can do that. Type in pole here. Use something like this. Make it the nice gray color like that. And like that. We can. If this is a little too long, we can always hide it, but I don't think it will be. Something like that should be just fine. Then we need to build. Let's see here if I remember. I'm trying to remember. Remembering is kind of the difficult part right now. Let's see here. Let's just copy this over as well so that we have one on both sides. If I make my own version of it, I make my own version of it. It's okay. So essentially, what happened is that we would when you hit the go button, essentially, you would this thing would first rise up a little bit, probably about to the height of the dumpster. So if we equal this to about there, and then this whole thing would start tilting like forward. So this part would actually go up and over, essentially tipping this out. But the thing is, what kept it from not dumping the entire basket over there actually would be hooks that you can actually put these in. I'm going to make those really quick while I'm thinking about it. Because they're not very big. The 6x9 would work, but I need a little bit longer. It's a little too long. That works. And then I'll make this into the nice Rumpke brown. That's what we're calling it now. Put one there and there. So that would prevent the cart from going over into the bin, but would allow the trash to fall out. And then, let's see if we go up. I'll make one look like, so it would go up like this, and then it would rotate forward, kind of like this. And then it would dump its trash out into the trash compactor and dumpster. So number one, we didn't make the fence that high so that no one gets hurt. So there's that, and then we need some sort of. Let's put a box around this. I think that'll be kind of a better idea. Because essentially what would happen is the back of these dumpsters would actually were open, so that you can actually, the ram for the trash compactor could actually compress it into the dumpster, if I remember correctly. Once again, I could be wrong, but that is, if I remember correctly, that's how these worked. Do something like that, and like that. All right, now we need to make, we're going to build up the backside just a little bit, just so that the trash would actually fall in here instead of around the sides or down the back or whatever. Something like this. And then we can do it up the sides here. Actually rotate one of these like this and make the side here like that and down like that. And then what we'll do is we'll actually move the dumpster a little bit further in, kind of like that. So you kind of can see how this will be a little bit different version of this. This might just be a loader and compactor a little bit. It's a little bit different version, I guess. So we'll move the fence back just a little bit so that they can get the dumpster in and out of there a little easier. We have to move the back wall a little bit too. Let's do that real quick. Make this a little bit wider as well. But essentially, that's all it really kind of looked like. There was a little bit on the side here we're going to work on. But then this was actually the compactor itself. And we'll work on the safety mechanism. But that's pretty much what it's going to look like. I don't have any qualms about this. Once again, this is going to be one of those areas where really you're going to see it. And that's why I want to build stuff like this. So it reminds me, oh yeah, that's what that actually is. Or that's what's kind of representing. Things like that. So it makes a little more sense to me when I'm kind of flying around here, and maybe it also kind of explain what these things did and how often you would see them in a park like this. I probably will add more around the park here because they are somewhat used rather often. All right, so there is that. We do need to build the compactor a little bit on this end. So what we'll do is, these are actually pretty basic on how they did this. Essentially, they just build a platform off the side here. Like that. Technically, this whole thing would be encased. If I'm not mistaken, there's like, it was pretty much flat across the top here, and then they can compress it all into one dumpster, essentially. But I'll leave it open for now, because, it's Planko. It's not super realistic, but I still want it to be a little bit more than just so I still want you, like, if someone were to see this and say, hey, what is this? It's some sort of dumpster device. You know it's not just a dumpster people just throw trash in. Kind of that idea. So there is that. I need to put some sort of, I'm trying to think here. There is I think it's called a piston, like a steam piston that I've seen. Will this work? Is my question. I don't know if it will or not. Because also need to set this to stationary, because this actually is an animated piece, which is kind of neat, but for what we're doing, it's not a good thing if it's animated. But you know what? If I have this piece set to stationary, I think that might work. Let's see here. Rotate it this way. Rotate it like this. And rotate it in like so. We will be hiding most of it, unfortunately, but that's it's not really the point of it. Let's see here. Because what happens if we did something like this and had just the cylinder sticking out the back here? I don't see it anywhere else, so that's good. Let's do something like that. Slide that over. We're still good. You don't see it anywhere. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this. I'm going to make this kind of the same brown that everything else is. Maybe a little bit darker. And then I want to duplicate it. I want to rotate it 180 degrees this way. So it's still pretty much straight up and down, and then slide it over. And that'll be kind of a double piston one. I think that'll work pretty well. We both want to have these as stationary. But essentially, that's kind of what it might. Well, I don't know. I need to add a little more detail over here. So that might be it. But I think no. I think this needs a little bit more than just that. I probably will need some sort of shielding around here. I will put a fence up, just because you wouldn't want a lot of people have access to this. So let's put a fence up here. Like that. Like that. And I think, fingers crossed, this should be the correct length for this side. It looks like it is. Cool. That's what I was hoping for. Perfect. There's that off. It almost looks a little industrial, and that's kind of what the idea is. Make it look like it's not planned. This is kind of how we have to use it. So let's also go ahead and put the door on this, because there actually is a door that you have to lock and unlock to use this. And I'm going to use a fence piece. Let's see here. Probably this one, if I'm not mistaken. There's a really neat idea I have here. If I rotate this up like this, and rotate this around like this, I think I can make a pretty convincing door out of this. Like that. Like that. Okay, and then do something like this. And we'll do one more, because it's a little short. Something like that, and then I want to rotate this 90 degrees. And then do 3 like this. So you get this nice, industrial looking door here. You can tell it's a little bit different than the actual fencing because, different patterns, stuff like that. So I think that would be, probably would be a good example for a door. There's still something else selected. I think it's this. There we go. We'll slide this over to there. There we go. So that's going to be our door that you have to kind of lock and unlock if you want to use this thing. So you would open these doors, you would slide your cart in there, and I need a control panel, which I do probably use a Theme Maker's Toolkit one. You hit a button, this thing would slowly rise up and then dump the trash in here. Then once you were done, you would shake it a couple times up here, and then this thing would compact it into the container itself. I think it's a pretty good representation of it. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but still, I think you get the idea of how it works. So now I'm looking for the correct control panel, which I believe I'm going to use this one, because there was a couple different functions you could do with it. No, that's not what I wanted to see. But yeah, you can actually essentially it looked very similar to this. There was this enable button would have been an up-down button. So if you went to the right, you went up. You went to the left, you went down. There's an emergency stop button you have to pull out, and there would have been a start compression and stop compression or compaction. So that'd have been a pretty good control panel right there. And yeah, I think that's going to be our trash compactor there. It looks pretty good myself. I mean, I'm not one to brag. I really am not one to say, hey, this is the best thing in the world. Nobody else can build it. I mean, yes, there's people who can be able to do this a lot better than you can. At least in my case, that is. But I think putting it right here, fair enough, it's right next to the employee cafeteria, which is not ideal. I probably will move this a little bit later once I kind of define this a little bit more. But I think having it right there, I'm going to cover probably this side here will probably have a lot of trees on it, so you probably wouldn't see back here, especially if you're on a ride. But if you're also on a ride, you're actually tilted, and so you wouldn't see this too much. I mean, even from the path here, you can still kind of see it, but I think with a few trees here, you shouldn't have to see that very often then. So let's start trying to define this area a little bit better, see if we can maybe find an area for the trash compactor. Let's use this fence here, and we'll rotate it like this. I'm thinking about leaving this area open, like as some green space. I don't know quite yet. surface off. You know, because a lot of parks will have just some nice greenery around, even just grass or something like that. They'll curb the path and everything to make it look a little bit nicer, but you know, it still is just a green square essentially, or a green area. Now let's see here. Where do we want to go with this? There's a go-kart track here. I think we should maybe try to follow this just behind here. I think that might work out pretty well for us. What I mean by this, I want to follow that and then probably do one more panel and then turn it to the left towards the track. And that should, let's say should, make it look like we got pretty much a pretty well-defined area back here. I do need to step this down just a little bit here. Now, if you guys are curious, if you guys wanted to watch me build or kind of curious on how this park came together, I actually do have quite a few of the videos on my YouTube channel, which there is a link just below the stream here if you guys are curious. The first one I actually did a whole tour of the park, so if you guys want to see the whole park and its story, I actually tell the story of Thunder Lake and how it kind of came to be and how things were developed and things like that. So if you guys are curious about that, head over to my YouTube channel. This stream will also be up on there, so if you left early or came in kind of late, you can always go back to YouTube and watch it on there if there's a part you really wanted to see. I think it's a pretty neat idea if you guys want to see that as well. So we'll just kind of cruise on back through here. And also I have my other streams on there as well, because I do stream 3 times a week. If you guys are curious, I only do Planet Coaster 1 day a week though, because I don't want to get too burned down on it, because I really kind of want to see this project maybe not 100% completed, but mostly completed. I do want to see what this park, what kind of ideas I can get for this park later, what other areas I might want to work on, things like that. So I do want to get this one. I want to get this part closer to being done than it has been. I think every stream we get a little bit closer, and that's kind of the idea at least. But that's just something that I wanted to try to do. I think I want to actually turn this path just a little bit and slide it this way, because right here is actually technically where the go-kart track would come out at. So let's do something like this. Actually, let's rotate this a lot and actually head into the track here. This is the part you probably would see a little bit behind the scenes, which is okay. Not every park, unless you're Disney, can kind of pull that off, and I'm not Disney on this one, so something like that I think will work. You kind of get that fence, feeling. We probably will put another facade there. That's probably what I'm thinking here. So essentially, this will technically be an outdoor space, but it'll still be under the facade. You'll see the garbage compactor here. We'll probably put the recycling back here as well. That's what I'm thinking right now currently. I'm okay with that kind of openness right there. Also, I kind of wish they would do one thing. I do wish that I haven't seen yet on Theme Maker's Toolkit. I wish I would see is that there is no ride vehicles on there. So like the go-karts here, I'd love to see I'd love to see the actual go-kart like cars that I could just place around the park, or like on Shockwave over here. I have these transfer tracks, but I have no way to actually put the coaster cars on them. I'd love to see those on the Theme Maker's Toolkit, but you don't see them, unfortunately. Which is kind of sad. I think that would be something that would be really beneficial that was on there. And I'm not that good of a 3D modeler to be able to do stuff like that. So, who knows? But what I do know is that I think we've pretty much defined this back wall here. Now, there's something I did see on a Bro Nation, or a recent, it's not Bro Nation, it was actually on Mass Bandit's channel, on how to do a little bit better, like casual, like more gentle slopes. And so I'm going to do that currently. What I'm going to do is, the first thing you got to do is get a tracked vehicle ride. We'll do this kind of sports car ride here. Funny enough, originally this is what was actually going to be in this area. This whole area was going to be one big like car ride like this. But then I decided against it and decided to start building. I built the go-kart track. I'm like, oh, that's pretty neat. And I started building the rest of this. So, you know, it's kind of nice. Okay, so apparently, I've never done this before, so we're going to give this a try. But apparently, you can actually build these up to about here. You can get some nice slopes out of them. And that's kind of what I want here for the employees to be able to walk back here to this cafeteria. So kind of like that. And then apparently if you raise the terrain up to here, I might have to turn clipping on. Because that will, yeah, that'll clip right through there. However, I might be able to do something like this and just kind of eyeball it. I guess if that's kind of how it's kind of how we can do it anyways, but if you look, it's not what I want. I'm afraid to turn no clipping back on, because if it's truly does what I think it does, it's not going to end well for a lot of our rides. That's essentially kind of the path I want, is this nice, gentle, you know, slope up to the cafeteria here. So, see if I can maybe. Something like that, maybe. That might be a little bit better. Something else, you know, I mean, fair enough, you would, I'm just going to delete that. Something else you know, you got to think about doing stuff like this. You've got to roll things like carts and merchandise, food, things like that. You roll those around on dollies and things like that. So you got to, you know, have areas where you actually can build, you know, ramps and things like that along here, so that employees can walk up, things like this. So something else you got to consider when you're building parks like this. If you're building a realistic park, I should say. Building your, you know, if you just kind of want to go do whatever you want to do, that's fine. That's, you know, that's up to you. But yeah, kind of realistically, you want to have areas like this where your employees can actually walk up to these smoother ramps to get to the areas they're wanting to go. I think that looks pretty good. We're kind of flatten it out just a little bit more here. And I think that should do it. I know I've left a little bit of a mess at the bottom here, but I can fix that super quick. There we go. I think that looks a lot better. And then you know what we could do actually? No. So right now we have the issue that if we wanted to get a, technically it's like a small semi that they use to bring these dumpsters on. I guess what we could do is actually move, I'm thinking of actually moving this down here. To about in here somewhere. Maybe right in there. Because then what we could do is a truck could pull, theoretically, pull in here, because there actually is a gate here. Pull in here, drop their dumpster, the new dumpster off there, pull forward, drag this dumpster out to about here, pull a new dumpster in, put it into the compactor, and then get the full one and drive off with it. I think they have enough room to turn around back here. So I think that's where we actually might put that. Might be a little easier here for us. So let's clean it up. Let's clean up this area and actually pave it. And so we can kind of show that, you know, this kind of, you know, this area would be at least backstage. You probably wouldn't see much of this if you were a guest. There we go. Do want to leave a little bit of the grass texture on the hill here, just so that you know, we can kind of see where everything kind of cuts off, kind of where the cliff is. Same with on this side too. I probably won't build that up. I might build it up a little bit, with just like a concrete block or whatever. And then we'll do the back side down here as well. Now this side would probably be some sort of storage. As to what, probably like, we probably put some shipping containers down here or something like that. Maybe they're full of go-kart parts or ride parts from down here or things like that. And let's do the whole cliff here, and I'll fix that here a little bit. We'll do it right this second, actually. That's a bit much. Let's actually cut it back down to like a 1. Just gonna do some nice rock work in here. And once again, I'll probably come back here with some concrete block and redo a lot of this. Make a little more of it like a permanent edge kind of thing. But kind of like that, I think that will work for now. Then we'll come back in here with just some paints and connect up the rest of this area. Let's actually make it a little bit bigger so it doesn't take an eternity to get this done. If you guys are curious, yes, most back areas are like either concrete or just slabs of concrete or just slabs of asphalt. That's where I used to work at. Because it's more efficient. You can actually use this for storage if you need to, or you can store, or well, not just storage, but you can park like golf carts and trucks, things like that back here, and they're pretty easy to walk around on. So, and it's cheap. I mean, putting a slab of concrete down is a lot easier than trying to tile everything or make certain walkways, things like that. So, a little bit easier on both the park and the guests, or on the employees. So it's not too awful bad here. Something like this, though. And I'm just gonna finish that off there. I think that's where, let's see here. Let's go ahead and just kind of fix this corner here. Like that. I'll have to do a little bit of grass work out here. No big deal. So yeah, I think that's kind of going to be our backstage area. The fence will continue down this way. It's going to cross this and probably across here. Probably link up somehow down here. Still don't know how quite yet. But guys, it is getting about to be about 10 till 4, and so it's about the end of the stream. So I'm going to, instead of starting something else, I want to end it right here, guys. So let me go ahead and save the park right here. Just go ahead and hit save park. And, oh, come on. Lake Park, because when I originally started this park, it was not called Thunder Lake. I didn't have a name for it, and then when I came up with Thunder Lake was a different idea that I came up with, so pretty neat in and of itself. Alright guys, let me switch over to the main camera back here. Well guys, thanks for joining me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the park here. We really didn't, I mean, we did a lot in the store there. We actually showed it off quite a bit. And then we did a little bit on the backstage area and that dumpster, or the trash compactor there. So that was actually pretty neat. We got a lot of, it didn't seem like we got a lot done, but we're working towards kind of defining this area a little bit better. And I think once we get that done, the employee cafeteria, that'll probably be next week, I'm hoping. Along with a couple other things in that back area just to kind of help tidy up those facades and things like that. And probably maybe even do some backstage stuff to kind of get the fencing in, and maybe do some storage, maybe even put some employee-only stuff. Bathrooms, more recycling facilities, maintenance areas, things like that. So, guys, thanks for joining me again today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's stream. If you guys are wanting to look or trying to figure out how in the world to help me out, all I'm really looking for is some followers. That'd be great. I got 3 more today. So thanks to those 3 guys. I really do appreciate that, guys. So that means, if I'm not mistaken, that puts it up to 34. If I'm not mistaken, so we only need 16 more for that affiliate goal, and I'd love to get that before the end of the year. So if you guys want to help me there, that's the best way you can. Also, if you're watching this later on YouTube, I do appreciate that as well. If you want to catch a stream live, though, I do stream 3 times a week, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's kind of just generally what I do. Tuesdays, we've been playing Planet Coaster. It's been pretty fun. Thursday this week, I have not decided what we're doing yet. I thought about doing some iRacing. I'm still not sure how I'm going to do that quite yet, but that might be kind of fun to do some, just either, we got some late model racing as well as some legend cars that would be kind of fun as well. And on Fridays, we've been playing Mech Warrior 5. If you watched this past week, it was 2 hours of trying to do one campaign mission, and it was a bit of a pain in the butt, but we got it done, and so we've got a couple of the missions we've been doing, so hopefully we're getting probably towards the end of that game. It's been really fun so far. Hopefully you guys can join me for one of those, as well as some more Planet Coaster next week. So Thursday, guys, I'll try to figure it out probably tomorrow, and so if you guys want to keep an eye on my Twitch channel during this, or on the schedule, I don't know quite yet what we're doing yet, but I'll put it on there first, and then we'll see what we're doing on Thursday. So guys, for now, thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you on Thursday for whatever we're playing, but the same time at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But for now, guys, have a great Wednesday, and I'll see you guys on Thursday.